Hello and welcome to Thought for June the 20th. Our readings are Ruth chapters 1 and 2, Isaiah chapter 44, and the Epistle of Jude. And our thought is, the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. The account of Ruth and her mother-in-law Naomi has a special message for us in encouraging us to see the bigger picture of life, the picture as God sees it. Because of a severe famine, Naomi with her husband and 2 sons moved from Bethlehem to Moab. Some years pass, but when her husband dies and she was left with her 2 sons, we read in chapter 1 verse 3, the sons marry Moabite women and they live there about 10 years, we read in verse 4. But then her sons die. Naomi then decides to return to her hometown of Bethlehem, and one of her daughters-in-law insists on coming with her, declaring, "Your people shall be my people, and your God my God," we read in verse 16. Naomi at first feels it would be better if Ruth stayed in Moab and states, "It is exceedingly bitter for me for your sake that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me," verse 13. As events unfold, we begin to see the bigger picture. God sees the end from the beginning. In Isaiah's chapter today, we see God is challenging those who worship idols. Let them declare what is to come, we read in chapter 44, verse 7, as the Lord does. In chapter 46, we will read, "I am God and there is no other. There is none like me," declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times, things not yet done. Verses 9 and 10. Naomi starts to perceive that the hand of the Lord weaves together events in a longer time frame in the outworking of his purposes. This is more than we mortals can normally comprehend, but we can catch some perception of it as we look back. And thus we see how Ruth became the grandmother of Jesse, the father of David. The time came when David was being hunted by Saul, and David saw the need to protect his parents from the probability of Saul's vengeance. And 1 Samuel 22 verse 3-4 tells us he went to Moab and said to the king of Moab, "Please let my father and mother stay with you." And it is evident why he trusted this king. And this gives us a glimpse of how under God's oversight all things work together for good, as Romans 8 verse 28 tells us. So in this 21st century, we eagerly watch to see how God will fulfill his word through Isaiah that we have read today in chapter 44. For the Lord will be glorified in Israel, verse 22. And this nation is now a focus of attention in a world that largely believes in the God of evolution. But God declares, "I am the Lord, who made all things, who alone stretched out the heavens, who spread out the earth by myself, who turns wise men back and makes their knowledge foolish." Verses 24 and 25. Let us all search God's word to see more evidence of his hand at work. Well, thank you once again for joining us for Thought for the Day, where together we can open up the pages of God's word, knowing that word to be a lamp to our feet and a light to our path.